Hello and welcome to Beautiful Literature with me, Chamatha. I am so glad that you could join us. Thank you for choosing to be here. And going back to what we talked about last time, I promised that we'll be looking at paper 1. And I promised that we'll just be looking at the general overview. I may not go into the details right now. I would want us to just look at it generally. What are the expectations? What are things you're supposed to deal with when you're dealing with paper 1? Remember, I said that the reason why I get a bit concerned is when a student has, for example, they are sitting for an exam and they are probably told you'll be looking at paper 2 and or paper 1, and you find that a student, for example, in paper 1, and when you're going around checking on whether the students are revising and you find someone with a set book, I think when that happens, clearly it communicates that that student is not aware what is tested where. And I wouldn't want to begin off with other things without, first of all, taking us through what is expected in every paper. So it will not be in details. We will look at the details later. So today, I just want to give just the general overview of what exactly is expected in paper 1. And so I hope that you've got your piece of your notebook and your pen with you. If you don't have, just follow up on the writings in this video. I'm sure you can take some short notes. And so the entire English paper is, the total mark is 200 marks. And I said that paper 1 has got 60 marks. Paper 2 has got 80 marks, and paper 3 has got 60 marks, and that comes to a total of 200 marks. And so when you're doing the percentages, therefore the mark is cut by 2, so that you have out of percentage. And so therefore we are looking at paper 1, and paper 1 has got 60 marks. Now, these 60 marks are divided into 3 portions, into 3 sections, into 3 segments. And the first one is functional writings. I want to hope that all of us are familiar with functional writings, and you know the examples that are there in functional. Irrespective of what class you are in, Form 1, there are functional writings for Form 1. Even Form 2, there are functional writings for your class, and so on, all the way to Form 4. And the functional writings, the total marks is 20 marks. Out of the 60, 20 marks is in functional writings. And then for the sake of just mentioning, allow me to just very briefly just mention or read through what functional writings are in whatever class. And so therefore, I will not go into any details, just reading them through. Please be keen that Form 1 and 2, we deal with items like diary, parking list, informal letters, public notices, inventories, business letters, posters, advertisements, personal journals, shopping lists, invitations, telegrams, filling of forms, and letters of apology. There could be 1 or 2 others that I've left out. That is Form 1 and 2. I am hoping that even Form 1 and 2 or Form 3, somehow along the way you have interacted with those ones. When you come to Form 3, therefore, you have reminders, you have notes, and notes include thank you note, congratulatory note, condolence note, and you also do the letters of application, you do synopses, reports, and notifications of meetings, you have agenda and minute writing, and you also have a memorandum. And so that is Form 3 work. And so I am hoping that as I read through, in your mind, you're able to remember, did we cover that? Do I even know how that is? What is that? And so on. But we know when we come to Form 4, they're a bit more technical as compared to the others. And we have recipes, we have emails, we have facts, we have instructions to family and friends, we have letters of inquiry, we have letters of request, we have book reviews, we have questionnaires, we have biographies, autobiographies, curriculum vitae, and speeches, and plus a few others that I could have left out. And so therefore, those are the functional writings that you deal with in those 20 marks. Now, it's important to note at this point that the functional writings are critical in the sense that if you miss out on the functional writings, if you miss out on what is tested on the functional writings, you will have a challenge. And maybe, just maybe before I move on to the next thing, it is important for me to mention that one of the things that is important when you're dealing with the functional writings is that you need to check on these 4 areas. Number 1, you need to ensure that you know the format of that functional writing. Whatever item you're dealing with, do you know the format? For example, when you hear of a shopping list, in your head, are you able to know that the shopping list is like this? This is the format of of the shopping list. When you hear of a letter of apology, are you able to tell that a letter of apology is written with this? It has these addresses, it has this other one. When you hear of a notification of meeting, what is the format for the notification meeting? When you hear of a recipe, what is the format of the recipe? Because in every question, there is a marks set aside for the format. So you could be having everything else, but the format is wrong. And therefore, the examiner will not award you the marks that are set for the format. Then again, the other second aspect that you need to look into is the issue of the content. For every functional writing, there is the content that is appropriate for that functional writing. For example, the content that is in minute writing, is not the same content that is in business letters. And so therefore, when you hear of when you're dealing with every functional writing, you need to ask yourself, what is the relevant, what is the correct content that is information that is captured in every writing. So that is number 2. Number 3, you need to check on the tone of every writing. Every writing picks different tones. For example, if you're doing a letter of apology, the tone is the voice, the quality of the words that you use. For example, the choice of words that you use, assuming that you're reading those words aloud, you're reading that to someone, what do they hear? The choice of words that they hear you. For example, if you're doing an apology letter, and you're doing a condolence note, if you're condoling someone and you're apologizing, those two, the tones are different. The choice of words are different, and so on. And so the examiner will want to hear the right tone for that. So ensure that even as you do those functional writings, you use the right tone for that. And finally, there is an aspect of language that needs to be checked when you're doing functional writing. That in the issues of language, we are dealing with how you have communicated the content, how you have written the format, and how that tone has been communicated. In writing, for example, you have used the right tenses. Have you mixed up the tenses? Is the subject and verb are agreeing, or are they messed up? Is your spelling correct? Because sometimes when you're not very careful about spelling, you're messing up with the marks that is allocated for the language. So ideally, when you're looking at our language, we are looking at the whole presentation of the entire functional writing. And so therefore, it is important for us to continually make sure that we practice. And I would advise, for example, just pick an exercise book that is probably away from in your revision book, and list all those items down. If you're in Form 3, list all of them down, all day from Form 1. And say in Form 1, I'm supposed to do all these, Form 2, all these, Form 3, all these. And so take time, look for questions that are related to the item that you want to revise on. Try to answer those questions in a book. Take to the teacher for marking, or whoever in your life that will help you on that. And when the person is marking for you, now that is part of your revision notes. When you have that marked, corrected, and you have done a correction, and so you're aware that as far as paper 1 is concerned, I am sorted on functional writings. And so therefore, that is it on functional writings. Like I said, I'll not go into the details. In the next time when you're looking at it, we could look at those minutes writing. How do you write the minutes? How do you do the momos? How do you do the reports? How do you do the condolence? The letters, how do you do them? The addresses and all that. The headings, we will look into that. So for today, we'll stop it at that on functional writings. That is section 1 in paper 1 that carries 20 marks. And again, just maybe before I conclude on that, it is important to mention that sometimes some writings are very short, like the notes, the congratulatory notes, the thank you notes. They are very short and may not carry 20 marks. Some carry 8 marks, others carry 10 marks. And so there are some questions that are combined. For example, you can have a minute writing that is big. It can handle 20 marks. Others that are small, they are combined with another one. You can have an email combined with a thank you note. You're doing a thank you note, but you're doing it via email. So what is happening? You're being tested on email writings. You're tested on that, and then you're also being tested on how do you write the thank you note. So sometimes the examiner can mix up 2 items, even because some of them are short and others are long. So therefore, we'll do those things as time goes on. Yeah, so that is it on functional writing. I will go to second part, that is the Cloze test. And the Cloze test has 10 marks. The Cloze test is spelled as Cloze. or do we call it ZE, and that is the 10 marks. And therefore, it's a very interesting part of an examination, in the sense that it's something we've been doing from a long time ago. But you realize that most of us are not able to score high on those 10 marks. It's very short, that has blank spaces you're supposed to fill in those blank spaces. And sometimes I don't know whether it's the skill that we lack, but unfortunately, I may not tell you exactly how to revise on that or how to make sure that you crack it. I only know 2 ways of doing it. Number 1 is practicing, and number 2 is practicing. Yeah, you just need to practice and do more, because the more you do it, the more it helps your mind to open up, the more you're able to acquire the skill of doing that close test. So I would encourage that first, when you're doing the close test, always carry in the examination room. As much as in English, I don't see people carrying pencils and rubbers. I encourage you to carry a pencil and a rubber to the examination room. And so when it gets to that close test, you use a pencil, and the whatever is indicated in the blank spaces up there, just above the blank space. As you read through, first of all, read through the text on itself. Don't even write anything. Just read through. What that helps you to do is to get the bigger picture of that passage as it is. You're able to get exactly what is the theme, what is the thought, what is this passage talking about. Because when you're able to do that, you realize that you're able to, almost in your brain, it's able to start processing what would be the correct answers, the correct words to fix in those blank spaces. So don't start immediately by writing the answers. You read the first sentence and you write an answer. Allow your mind to also appreciate and interrogate what is going on that close test. And so pick a pencil and start writing up there. After you read the first time, the second time when you're reading, as you think through the answers that you're writing, use a pencil and write up there, all of them. And one maybe you didn't know, just leave it first and move on to the next one until you finish. Now, when you finish writing with a pencil up there, then you can start again now for the third time. And this third time, you're reading for the third time and asking yourself, is really this the right answer? And as you do that, therefore now you can use your pen and write the correct answer on the spaces provided. And as you do that, the more times you do that, you realize by the end of the day, you didn't just rush through it. And most likely, even if you don't get 10 out of 10, you're guaranteed that even as you read through, you may see an answer that you wrote with a pencil, and you're actually thinking this is not the right answer, because you're giving your brain time to appreciate the information that is there, to interrogate whatever is there in that close test. So I encourage those who are very quick to go straight and writing answers without even giving yourself time to process that text as it is. And that way you're guaranteed that you'll be able to get very good marks. Just maybe to mention as I wind up on that, is that number 1, you are not supposed to have 2 answers in one gap. It is 1 gap, 1 answer. Even if the answer is very short, maybe it's a preposition or a very short word. Don't think because this is very short, I can put 2. You know, some clusters are just sometimes a bit technical. And so you're trying to make a guess and think what could be the right answer. So even if you're feeling so tempted to put 2 answers there, if you get yourself 2 answers, 2 words in 1 gap, trust me, that is so wrong. You'll not even get a mark for it. So it is 1 gap, 1 answer. Number 2, you need to be careful about the spelling mistakes, because if you misspell the words in the close test, however correct it is, but you have written it wrongly, you will not get a mark for it. We don't give room that I think he has an idea or she has an idea, I think needs. It's only that the spelling is wrong. If the spelling is wrong, then you don't get it right. Number 3 thing that you need to note is capitalization. If, for example, the gap is at the beginning of a sentence, you can see there is a full stop. Now, this is a new sentence. You need to make sure that the answer you write starts with a capital letter, because that is the beginning of a sentence. Don't start with a small letter. And if it's in the middle of the small one, if it's in the middle of a sentence, don't start with a capital letter in the middle of a sentence. Ensure that you check on the capitalization. Don't start capitalizing in the middle of a gap in the middle of a sentence. Don't start with a small letter in the middle, at the beginning of a sentence. And so I encourage you to do more practice on this close test is what will help you. And there's so much practice out there. Look for revision books, look for past papers, and do more and get the answers and mark. The more you do them, you'll be able to crack it. And so I think that is it on the close test. I hope you are good at it. Maybe in the future, we'll also have time to also look at it and look at those clusters. So I think that is it. In the next video, we'll be looking at the oral skills and just the details of it, because it's a bit extensive. So kindly join me in the next video as we look at the oral skills. And thank you very much for keeping it a beautiful literature. I am so grateful. Thank you. See you then.